Ladies and gentlemen, I very much like to thank you for joining me on today's section, and I trust and promise that our time here together is going to be nothing short of amazing. Now, today I want to bring us into an experiential knowledge of what it means to get out of the rat race, because the new normal as we know in the world currently is not who you want to be. If you are a normal individual in the world today, you are a wrong individual. So it seems as though the only way you can live rightly, not normally, is to get out of the new norm. Trust me, history is being read, but it's also being written by people with imagination. So there are many people who are literal encyclopedias. All they know is facts.
They don't know what they want for their own life. They're just wandering around here aimlessly.
All they know is figures. They know of everything that has happened in the past, but they can't think. They can't use their minds, the brains, to think of exactly what is going on. How is this affecting my life? How is this affecting my children? How do I manipulate this to benefit me as an individual? How can I make sure I come out of the better end of this play out of events around my life? Now that's exactly what I want to talk to us about, because it's important that you transit. It's important you become better, because if you stop improving, you start dying. If you stop growing, you start depleting, and you deplete to the extent to which you are nothing. You become dead, literally. So first of all, if you want to get out of the current rat race that we are experiencing globally, it is not restricted to any country, it is not restricted to any demography, it is not limited to any geography. If you are going to get out of that, number one, first thing, very importantly, because without this, every other thing is null and void. You need to have a vision. Without a vision, the people perish. Without a vision, the people cast out restraint. What that means is this: if you don't have a vision, you have no basis with which to discipline yourself. And it is important you employ some level of disciplines to your day-to-day routine, to your life, to your existence, to your living. Your business has to be disciplined. Your life has to be disciplined. Whatever you do, if you do not have a vision, you will not have a basis to discipline yourself and employ so many seemingly strenuous and arduous, laborious things that will be demanded of you to transit to the next level. So vision, very, very, very important. There are those who watch things happen, there are those who make things happen, and there are those who don't know what happened. The people who make things happen are the people who have a vision, because everything in life, trust me, is built twice. It is first built in the mind, and then secondly, it comes into reality. It is up to you to do it. And until you envision what you're going to do, you're going nowhere. If you don't have a vision of where you are going before you kick your car, you have no destination, therefore you have no arrival. If you never get an aim, you will never miss, right? So very importantly, first thing, you need to get a vision. I read a scripture in the Bible that was it caused me thinking, right? It got me thinking, and it was very scary to me. And Solomon was writing, and he said, the rich and the poor have one thing in common. And the one thing they have in common is that God is the maker of them all. Now, when I read that scripture, it reduced me to complacency, right? Because, here is the Bible, the compendium of human existence, the principal book, the apex book of human life, telling me that the rich and the poor have one thing in common. And the one thing they have in common is that God is the maker of them all. Now, when I read that scripture, my interpretation was this: that the rich and the poor have one thing in common. God made them, so he made some rich and he made some poor. I went on to study on that because it was very troubling to me. And Solomon later expounded on it, and he said, the rich and the poor have one thing in common. Trying to expound on it now, he said, God gave sight to both. Get that? The rich and the poor have one thing in common, And the thing they have in common is that God gives sight to both. Now, here's what that means. God gave sight to both, literally. So the rich, God made man, they divided themselves into two cadres, rich and poor, depending on how they saw, right? So your sight, what you see, what you've envisioned, is exactly what is going to differentiate you from being rich or being poor. The choice is yours. You can decide today to pick up your life and go achieve what you are meant to achieve. You can decide to remain where you are. And trust me, there are many people throughout history who have been complacent. They made up their mind to remain where they are, and life for them wasn't that bad, right? Life for them wasn't that terrible. It wasn't that detestful, right? So it is your decision. But trust me, if you're going to make something impactful, if you're going to do something great in life, then you need to start changing the way you see. The rich and the poor have one thing in common: God gave sight to both. So they became rich or poor depending on the way they see. So what are you seeing? What do you see? There are those who watch things happen. There are those who make things happen. There are those who don't even know what happened. Second thing, you need to have values. And this is laying on the first point, because if you do not have a vision, there is no point restraining yourself, restricting yourself, limiting yourself on what you could do. There is no point constraining yourself, right, with values. But if you're going to be a high value individual, if you're going to achieve greatness in life, then you need to have very high values. The word value is the stem word for the word evaluation, and it's also the stem word for the word valuation. So your valuation of yourself is, of course, gotten from your value. If you think yourself timid, if you think yourself shy, if you think yourself unworthy, that is exactly who you are. Those are the values you have for your life. If you think the reason why people, we can keep on shouting and blaming and thinking of why people do the things they do. People steal, people prostitute, people do a lot of dangerous and harmful things, right? Why do they do those things? It is literally reduced to the values they have for their lives. So some people steal because deep down within themselves they know that, or they think that they can't get a good living a good way, right? They can't achieve greatness, they can't get beauty, they can't get color, they can't be rich, they can't achieve financial freedom living righteously. I'm using the word righteous not as a religious word, it just connotes living your life rightly, right? So people divide themselves to cadres and stratas in life depending on their values. So you want to employ very high standards of values. You can't do everything because all things are permissible, not all things are expedient. What that means is all things are allowed. You can do anything literally that you want to do. It is your life. Truly, it is your life. Nobody is bargaining that with you. But guess what? When you're doing something, then you should know that you're doing that thing to the seclusion of everything else you could be doing. So when you're doing something wrong, you are doing that wrong thing to the seclusion of every right thing you could be doing. When you're stealing, you're doing your stealing endeavor to the seclusion of the probability of you having a business that provides value to society, and by reason of that you get handsomely compensated. So people limit their sight to wrongness, to evil, right? Badness, to inflicting pains on others because they have low value, low self-esteem, low self-view. They see themselves not up to, literally, I'm saying this and I'm not apologetic about it, they don't see themselves as complete. Because if you think you are a complete human is supposed to have values. They're supposed to have values because we live in a society where meritocracy is respected. And if you are not in alignment with that, then trust me, I'm not condemning you in totality, but it is necessary that you start employing values into your life. You don't watch everything you want to watch. You don't do everything you just want to do. All things being allowed, but not all things are suitable. Not all things are fit. Not all things are okay for you to do. So you can decide to go party or you can decide to read. You can decide to do something great with your life, or you can decide to become a carnal, a mongrel, a nobody, a runt in society. That's your choice to make. All things are permissible, but not all things are expedient. Get that straight. Third thing, you need to be highly educated. Now, and I'm not talking about secular education, and I'm not talking about school education, to put it that way. You don't have to go to school to be educated. I define education as your ability to communicate your ideas holistically. So education, I see and I label somebody educated to the degree to which you have the ability to read. I didn't say read English, to write, and I'm not saying write English, and to communicate, and I'm not saying communicate English. Your ability, your innate faculty to translate your ideas and communicate them effectively to provide solutions is the degree to which you are educated. Many of us in Africa, we are struggling with this. You juxtapose two individuals, one from maybe one of these first world countries, and then take somebody from the third world countries, Africa, a big victim of that label. You find out that there is a bankruptcy in education. There is a bankruptcy in the ability to communicate effectively, to communicate their ideas, to bet conviction, right? Many of us are not educated. You want to get a very high standard of education. And one thing you want to understand is this. In education, it doesn't come easy to you. It doesn't come easy to you. You need to pay the price. You need to pay the price in time. You need to burn down the midnight candle. You need to do what you need to do. You need to read materials. You want to be able to know from different views, different things. What is it you need to know? Who is it you need to meet? Where is it you need to go? What materials do you need to consult? These are things you need to employ if you're going to become a high-value individual and if you're going to get out of the rat race. Thank you for your time, and please, as always, listen to this again and again and again and again and again till you get convinced that what I've just said is true, because I'm not speaking out of my head. What I've just communicated to you is as a result of years of people's experience and knowledge. Get that straight and get going with your life starting now.
We'd like to thank you specially for joining us on today's pathfinding session, and we hope to see you on the next session, because we promise it's going to be illuminating, life-changing, life-impacting, life-transforming. And I'd like you to like, subscribe, share on this. If you have something resonating in your mind, you can comment below so others can partake from your experience.